What's up, guys? Here with you at FC Wonderkid, episode 135. Here with my guy, Bretson. How are you?
Oh, my God. We are good here. We are all good, although I just got, done from a week of sickness, and I was so excited to be able to at least watch Premier League midweek and watch all the crazy results come on out. And then this weekend has delivered too. So we're obviously going to talk about the Premier League. We're going to talk about the Copa America draw, Euro draw, Champions League. It's really heating up, and we are getting ever so close to the transfer windows. And I got to let you know over here from an American perspective, one of the craziest contracts was just thrown out in Major League Baseball. 10 years, $700 million, Alex. And it was the Los Angeles Dodgers to Shohei Ohtani, one of the best players in baseball. And you may recall who is a partial owner / investor of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm going to open this up. Who is the partial owner of the LA Dodgers?
Todd
Alex
Boehly, the man who's investing all those billions in Chelsea, which we're going to get through in this podcast. Talking about Premier League, Brasileirão, Champions League predictions, and the reactions to the Euro groups and Copa America. We're not forgetting the national team talk, people. But yes, starting with Premier League, Aston Villa is the real deal. I'm not going to say title contender right now, but for sure, a Champions League spot contender. Unai Emery is a top, I'll say, world-class manager right now in the Premier League because he has had 4 Europa League wins, in which with Sevilla, it was 3 in a row. And with Aston Villa, we're witnessing history. 15 home consecutive wins. First time in the history of Aston Villa, and Unai Emery was the reason why that happened. Club history. You got to respect what he's doing. And if he won the league and Arsenal in second, that would be poetic, Bretson.
It absolutely would. And not only, that wasn't the only thing that was news, him beating Arsenal earlier in the week. I mean, what a week for villains, right? What a week for Villa in general. Not only did Unai Emery beat his former club over the weekend, beat Mikel Arteta over the weekend, but midweek, he finally, in his career, whether it was Villarreal, whether it was wherever, right? He finally beat Pep Guardiola. And
2 shots to 22.
Oh my goodness. And I don't know if it's too soon. It might feel too soon, but right now I'm just going to ride with it. Unai Emery is already a legend at Villa Park. He's already a legend at Villa Park.
For sure.
You know, it's just wonderful football to watch. And
he left off with Steven Gerrard's misdoings. It was Unai Emery fixing everything. Diego Carlos and Pau Torres are one of the best center-back duos, not just in the Premier League, in the world right now. Diego Carlos must be selected for Brazil for the shortage they have at center-back. And Pau Torres, respect. Respect for what he's doing. And Douglas Luiz, Bretson, you put Douglas Luiz in the best 11 of the Premier League. You back him big time.
I do, 100%. I think there's still more to come. I agree with Unai Emery. I think he's got a whole nother gear in him. I think he can get his discipline under control, although that is kind of part and parcel of what makes him such a good footballer in the Premier League. But the same way maybe, everybody's warming up a little more to Douglas Luiz in the 11 right now. I definitely saw an Emiliano Martinez that for some reason I was not processing previously, but in these 2 games, I mean, the dude just figures out how to have an impact in massive games. We saw him do it for Argentina, and we are seeing him do it for Villa. And just what an absolute week. You want to hope that this is not the pinnacle, right, of Aston Villa's of their season or best season in a very long time. But this is the highest they've been for as long as they've been in a very long time. I think since like 2007 or 2008, 2009. Thank you. And Emiliano Martinez is right up there in goals prevented, only behind a Luton goalkeeper and behind Alisson. And on top of that, I think they can keep pace or at least start to pick off 1 or 2 more. Who knows? Heading into December, because December, Alex, is very manageable. Brentford away, Sheffield United home, Old Trafford away, which is very much not the fortress it once was, and Burnley at home. You tell me, villains have got to feel like they should be second or first by the end of December.
I understand that feeling because right now Aston Villa is a team that in the Premier League, they've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten Man City, they've beaten Arsenal, they've beaten Tottenham. They just didn't beat Liverpool. That beat them 3-0. That was the only result that was upsetting. But right now, until December, I agree with you. They can be in the top 3 at the end of December. Unai Emery Masterclass. And going with what you said, Emiliano Martinez is a world-class goalkeeper playing for Aston Villa and for Argentina. I only put ahead of Martinez, Alisson, Courtois, Ter Stegen, Mike Maignan. Confidently, I put ahead of him. The only ones. But this is a level top tier. And you got to respect Emiliano Martinez that right now he's the second in the Premier League behind Alisson. So that is big. Big.
And I don't mean to heap negativity onto Arsenal fans because it is not the worst thing in the world here. But it is amazing to me that you let Emiliano Martinez walk when you've now got this purely manufactured by Arteta, David Raya, Aaron Ramsdale insanity. I just don't understand it. Both of them have now made mistakes. So, I don't know.
20
flip
million.
A coin, whoever starts, whatever. But Emiliano Martinez could have been kept around.
And Emiliano Martinez was better at the time, in my opinion, than Leno. But I know 2023 perspective is easier to talk. But in my thoughts back then, I really thought that, people, okay? And another thing to end on Aston Villa on my end, John McGinn is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He is massively underrated. He is one of the main reasons why Aston Villa is third right now. And if they win the Champions League spot in my eyes, he is definitely one of the reasons. With Stoglej, Luis, with Boubacar Kamara, all massively important. But I'm saying Aston Villa getting Champions League, a team which is for sure a title contender still, is Man City. I believe Chelsea's in a crisis, but people don't say Man City is in a crisis, okay? Haaland didn't play against Luton, but Rodri did. He's the main reason why Man City win games. And Bernard Silva and Walker, by the day, we see the importance of those two extensions. This is a team that is built to win leagues and Champions Leagues with Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I mean, if this was midweek when they were Rodri-less, I would have said, I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it around against Luton. But no, because Rodri was in there, I was pretty certain that it was only a matter of time. And Jackie Grealish got on the score sheet too. But yeah, Rodri, what is it, 44 games with him now? Unbeaten. 4 games, the last 4 games that Manchester City have lost have been because, not because, but Rodri was not in the 11. And the biggest worry that I have for Manchester City, it's not a crisis, as you mentioned, but the biggest worry I have about Manchester City is, in fact, the little dissemination of the morsel that he has, and he being Erling Haaland, has a stress reaction. I was a runner, right, back in the day. Stress reactions are what you get before a full-blown stress fracture comes. Stress reactions need time off. They need quite considerable time off. Now, I know there's advancements in medicine and all that good stuff that can keep Haaland going again, but if you have Erling Haaland at less than 100% for the largest portion of your season, and the most important portion of your season when Manchester City starts to really get moving again, that is concerning.
It is.
It is concerning. And we'll see what it turns into, but stress reaction is not what I like to hear.
No, it's true, Breton. It's concerning. And Alvarez is still not in full routine striker right now at Man City. But I do believe once Kevin De Bruyne comes back, a lot of the Man City team will automatically improve. Julian Alvarez will be better set up. But yes, a team without Erling Haaland is always worse than a team with Erling Haaland. So they must take care of that for sure until the Champions League later stages, because he is absolutely essential. But you said it. 44 games unbeaten, Rodri. 4 losses this season of Man City are all without him. And Kevin De Bruyne, once he comes back, we see Man City a Champions League level team to win it. I fully believe that those are the expectations. But look, they need another CDM, Man City. And for me, the best CDM in the Premier League is Rodri. The best CDM in the Premier League is Rodri. The best 8, I'll put Declan Rice, that can play at 6'2". But the best 6 and number 2 for me is João Palhinha, the player with most tackles and the player that is influential for this team of Fulham. They beat 5-0 against West Ham this weekend. That happened because they have a player like João Palhinha that's improving massively on ball too. His passes, his distribution, where he is on the pitch more offensively right now. This is a team for a world-class team like Bayern Munich, like Arsenal, like Chelsea, like United. They all need a player like João Palhinha in my eyes.
Bayern especially right now. Bayern especially. But we'll talk about Bayern in a little while. But yeah, Palhinha and Fulham, it's nice to see them pep up again. You always knew that Marco Silva was going to get them running, but
Top 10.
really confuses me how West Ham beats Spurs and then comes back and gets killed at Craven Cottage, 5-0. That's just a bad loss.
That's a Man United. That's a Man United type thing, right?
Perfect segue. I don't know which one's worse, but Bournemouth was not as bad as we all thought they were. Anthony Areola, I want to give, their just desserts where it's starting. They're starting to play good football. They've got 4 wins in the last 5. Apparently Dominic Solanke has to be in the Golden Boot discussion. But, we all thought he was just a championship striker. No, he's actually starting to score some goals here and there. It's really, really nice to see. But once we're done talking about Bournemouth, okay, and the fact that Bournemouth starting center backs, Marco Senesi, Ilya Zabarny, right, are just getting going, just building a partnership, and already better than Manchester United center backs at this moment.
Player of the month, Maguire. Player of the month, Maguire.
Better than Maguire, better than Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw was not very good at center back.
Kerkez against Luke Shaw. I maybe pick Kerkez right now.
Yeah. Maybe. I know for Hungary I'd pick Kerkez. I know Kerkez is still getting going for Bournemouth. I think he's got a lot more to come. They can grow into this. And I have to remind people, Anthony Areola was very, very much in the want. Everybody wanted him previous to this, and Bournemouth landed him. It was a coup, and it has been a really rough ride to get them going. And this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Erik ten Hag defenders, because there is no way to defend that particular performance, especially after what they did midweek. There is no way to defend that. That was all on Ten Hag's feet, was it not?
I mean,
I don't see it anywhere. Like, you put Martial up front and he looks dead inside. I mean that in the nicest way. If he is dead inside, he should probably get some help. But my goodness, he was not part of this. Højlund, get him playing. Rasmus Winter Højlund is what? Co-leader or up there in the Golden Boot race in the Champions League. Yeah, and he's got no goals in the Premier League. Keep playing the kid. Let him play through this. At least let him, work at what is, he's getting wrong, or build the chemistry with everyone behind him. But everyone was wrong on the day for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes, not good, right? Now he's out the next game. And now they're going to have a pissed-off Bayern Munich midweek, and they're not going to have Bruno Fernandes for Liverpool the weekend after that. So I don't know. I'm at a point where I have to ask you, Alex, once again, what do you do at Manchester United if you're not confident that they can make the proper signings, if you're not confident that the ownership group cannot allocate funds properly, if now you're not confident that Erik ten Hag even has a plan, what do you do?
You get a sporting director first. I think that is absolutely essential. In my eyes, I'd get Edwin van der Sar. He would be my pick. A guy that succeeded at Ajax and a guy that knows Man United. That would be where I'd go first, maybe. But yes, I completely agree. Erik ten Hag, there's many flaws in this Man United team. But one thing is certain. You gotta trust the youth. Kobe Maino, Garnacho, and Rasmus Winter Højlund. Completely agree. What we see in the Champions League with Højlund is a player that likes the big spotlights. And at Man United and the Premier League, he doesn't get the deserved distribution. That is fact. And they're going to play Bayern Munich and Liverpool. When we see Man United and we see them play, we don't see a Premier League winning team. When we see Liverpool, when we see Man City, when we saw even Tottenham, that brief stint, we felt that was an empowering team that could win it all. And Man United need better players and players that will stay. Maguire actually really impressed me during November. I think it was a reborn month by him. And I think Man United and England both benefit from a strong Maguire. But they need many, many other positions to be addressed. Fullbacks, Man
Under
United is definitely not one of the best teams in the Premier League. With fullbacks, I'd even put Tottenham ahead right now, which is not bold. I think centre-back partnership, Aston Villa has better with Pau Torres and Diego Carlos. When you see goalkeeper, Onana's great in the Prem, but he doesn't give the certainties in the Champions League. So many positions, there's question marks when they got top 4 this season previously. So Man United, they need to get a sporting director. They need to trust Ten Hag, because I still don't believe Ten Hag's the problem. And I think Rashford should come out and explain what's happening right there. Say Jadon Sancho, okay, he put out that story. That was the death of him at Man United, which is unfortunate. But Rashford, what is happening? I've got a big question mark with that. And I think Man United doesn't benefit. But we mentioned Liverpool. Liverpool is a title-winning team. Why? Because they got references right now. Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Szoboszlai, Robertson, Luis Diaz, Darwin, Gakpo. Look at the amount of top players that are playing well right now. It's very different from Man United, and that's what you got to respect with Jurgen Klopp. He doesn't go to Champions League, no biggie. Let's improve our team, and let's for sure come back much better. That's what Klopp does.
Well, and Klopp only spoke the truth after that win over Palace, right? It wasn't good enough, but we still won, right? And there needs to be additions to this team. He doesn't know how much he's got in order to do it, but they do need defensive reinforcements. They probably need a midfield reinforcement as well. Somebody like a Nico Schlotterbeck. I know they're looking at maybe Mark Gahey, somebody from Crystal Palace, although that's going to English tax the heck out of him. But if it was not for Jefferson Lerma's red card, right? Liverpool, we'd be asking even more questions about this if it was not for Harvey Elliott's wonderful drive in, realizing he's got the space to put the ball away. But those are, again, we were saying it about Arsenal earlier this season. When you're not playing at the best, but you still get the 3 points, that's what's most important. It's when you get those games that you absolutely need to show up. That's when you need to turn on the jets, right? You need to really, really hurry up. But the defensive reinforcements are the biggest key coming into January, because they just found out earlier in the week Joel Matip is out the rest of the season with an ACL injury. His contract is expiring. He likely will not wind up back in a Reds shirt. So it's going to be very, very interesting who they bring in, or if they're going to ride Jarell Quansah for as long as they can.
Need a center back.
But
even on loan, someone.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, but you know what? This is a testament to what they've done this season. That was their 7th comeback win in all competitions so far this season. Wow. And that's a pretty big deal, considering I don't think have hit their biggest stride just yet, and they sit atop the table as we stand, as we sit
effect.
here.
Klopp effect. Yeah. Something that we could say maybe last thing in the Prem is like Sean Dyche effect right there, because you take points. The point deduction was the biggest motivator in the locker room that Sean Dyche just must give in those speeches. Look, nobody believes in us. Not even the Premier League with those rules. Man City has 115 rules. We have 1. We lose points. We got to show that we are the bosses. That would be my speech. Is it not, Preston?
I would agree with that. And that is all you need. You need a common enemy. And if the common enemy is the Premier League as a whole, then icon it, you run with that. And that's exactly what happened. You needed to unite the supporters. You needed the spirit back in Evertonians. And that's what you've seen so far. They're never going to play the best football. They're always going to be 1 or 2 players away from being a top half of the table team. But guess what, Alex? Without the 10-point deduction, they are a top half of the table team. They are above Chelsea, who they just, I wouldn't say ravaged, but they did beat a ridiculously lost Chelsea Football Club, and they beat them at home in front of a re-inspired fan base. And sometimes adversity is the best medicine that some teams need. They're now 4 points ahead. And I'm going to say something right now. Jared Branthwaite is one of the most exciting young center back talents in the Premier League. And I think he could slot in a lot of upper top 6 teams potentially, or at least get a whole bunch of time. And he's certainly better than any of the young center backs, in my opinion, right now at Chelsea Football Club.
Levi Colville.
He was, yes, even better than Levi Colville. at this moment. Yes.
You're going bold, mate.
Yeah. I mean, Levi is getting caught up in the same humdrum that everybody else is getting caught up at Chelsea. They can't all fire on the same cylinder. It just doesn't make any sense. They're lost. Pochettino's lost. It's almost tiresome to watch. And at least with Everton, you can get behind a dog in the fight. And that is what is happening right now. They've got, if they can figure this out and stay in the Premier League, they have online in the next year or so, year and a half or so, a ridiculous new stadium. And they have all the momentum in the world if they can, just like United, just like other clubs previous to them. Everybody seems to have these ownership issues. But if they can figure out their ownership ills, Everton does have momentum from here on out. But one thing they have heading into the end of this season is going to be that common enemy. And that common enemy is that 10 dang points that put them down in the relegation zone. And I just have to say it beyond this, another little bold statement. Everton's midfield, for me, is underrated. Abdoulaye Doucouré is an absolute delight to watch. He is everywhere on that pitch. They got him playing cam right now, and it's great to see. Idrissa Gueye, who's the most experienced out of all of them, he's actually like the least exciting and possibly the least in form out of the bunch. You've got James Garner, who absolutely could play a role for Manchester United, and you've got Amadou Onana, who's just a ridiculous physical specimen that has not yet reached his talent or his top-tier potential, but I'm pretty certain at some point this season he will. So I'm so excited to be talking minorly positive about Everton again after a exhausting 18 months of back and forth with you and I, right?
No, it's true. It's true. And you talk about Everton in a comeback way. Look at West Ham. Remember, and who's the manager of West Ham is David Moyes, that maybe plays a bit of that Brexit football that we expect with Sean Dyche. But no, it's good to see these two teams. A team that Everton, in my eyes, is a top 10 team in the Premier League reoccurrently, okay? At least my childhood was like that, okay? But if we missed out anything in the Premier League, last thing, Mo Salah, 200 goals for Liverpool, top goal scorer ever. Now he's in the top 10 list too of the Premier League. So we didn't miss out on that, people. But let us know, what in the Premier League do you want us to talk about in the next podcast? Because bold topics are always in the best league in the world. But we're talking about best league in the world, maybe European league in the sense the Champions League is the best in terms to entertainment. And it's the game week 6, the last game week that we can do. And maybe we will hint on winners' predictions. But we're going to run through every group fast. But let us know in the comment section down below your predictions and who do you think will win in each of the games that we'll be giving our thoughts, people, okay? So on Group A, Breton, we've got an interesting one with Man United playing Bayern Munich and Copenhagen Galatasaray. What are we thinking on these ones, Breton?
Well, the Copenhagen Galatasaray, I think they could agree to tie or draw, maybe, except there's the Europa League to fight for. So I'm not entirely sure. It's Champions League knockout or Europa League if they tie, right? I don't know which one gets which, but that is the game to be watching. Galatasaray is going to have to get it done. They have refound their form, but now they got to do it in Copenhagen. But Manchester United, I was trying to figure out if they've ever finished bottom in a Champions League group before, because I don't see how this gets done, right? How they fight their way. They actually do have a chance. They need they need both teams to tie, and then they need to beat Bayern at Old Trafford. I suppose that's possible, but we have to remember what Bayern is now coming off of. They're coming off of a 5-1 loss in which Eintracht Frankfurt put together just a wonderful showing and capitalized on every individual mistake, making people question Thomas Tuchel, making people question his relationship with the board, making people question Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka. I mean, there are a lot of questions now in the Bayern camp, and they're not even that far off of a Bundesliga, the perch.
Lucky one.
But they're going to come in, and this isn't good news for Manchester United at all. They're going to come in absolutely perturbed, angry at themselves. And Old Trafford, having just witnessed one of the worst losses all season, 3-0 to the hands of Bournemouth.
First win ever at Bournemouth in Old Trafford.
Oh my gosh. And they're the last of the existing Premier League teams. Bournemouth is the last of the existing Premier League teams to get a win over Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Oof.
The last. All 20 now have a win at Old Trafford. But listen, the only way for Manchester United, if you want one of these moments where you turn the rock over, right, or you turn the pillow to the cooler side of the pillow, and you start over here, this is it. This is the time. This is, get your head out of your butt and figure out a way to get this win against the Bayern team that's licking their own wounds now.
It's true. A Bayern team that benches Thomas Müller, a Bayern team that has question marks with Thomas Tuchel, a Bayern team that says we don't have the best manager in the Bundesliga, because we all know that manager is Xabi Alonso and not Thomas Tuchel, which that will be a big motivator. Where will Xabi Alonso go? Liverpool? No, for sure Klopp will stay. Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. That is the doubt. But in this group, I believe Man United is a mandatory win, as you're saying, or at least a draw in order to get Europa League, even if they don't win. And I think Galatasaray will beat Copenhagen away. I believe in Zaha. I believe in Icardi. I believe in Ferreira. They've got a lot of stars that want to prove themselves. And they went to Turkey because they have Champions League football with Galatasaray. Okay, so Galatasaray and Man United, come on. But let us know down below your thoughts on this one. But Group B now. Wow, we got Arsenal that has gone through in Group B, but we have a game between PSV and Arsenal and Lens and Sevilla. PSV right now in the league have 15 games, 15 wins. It's unreal what they're doing. They had Sangaré last season and Xavi Simons. They were unreal, but they're better right now with Bakayoko, with Veerman, like with key players, and even a new manager. So they are going bold. What are your thoughts on this one, Breton?
Well, my thoughts are give me a Ricardo Pepi start, please. Poor kid has not started yet this season, but he has done his work off the bench, and he is learning from an insanely informed Luke de Jong. So I think because Arsenal 1, PSV 2 is already dealt with, is already done, right? They're moving on. Hopefully you do see a little rotation, but the real game is going to be Lens versus Sevilla, and that's mostly for Europa League. And you know what? I think most people in the Europa League right now are, crossing their fingers, hoping that Lens can do it, because they'd rather face a Lens than face a Sevilla, because we all know what Sevilla likes to do in the Europa League. But yeah, PSV, man, 15 and 15. You said it. They're still not conceding goals. They're winning games in very, very entertaining fashion. It'll be really interesting to see if they can cause any sort of an upstart in the knockout rounds. And that is very much a question mark. It is. It is a question mark.
It is.
Yeah, because the Eredivisie is the Eredivisie.
Oh, and for PSV too, I think Arsenal will rotate in this game, but for PSV, it's a learning process in the Champions League. Well, they'll go through, but let's see who they're going to get in first place, because Arsenal for sure will be getting a weaker opponent. I think PSV won't lose this game. I'll put PSV winning. And Lens Sevilla, I think Sevilla will be winning, because Europa League is in the contention. And when Europa League is in the contention, we see the best Sevilla. So Lens, be prepared. But yes, Group C now, it's an interesting one with Union Berlin against Real Madrid and Napoli against Braga. Real Madrid have gone through. They've got 5 wins in 5 games. So this 6th one, let's see if they can win in Germany. But we have Napoli that most possibly will be going through, but it's still an interesting match to watch in Napoli against Braga.
Yeah. I mean, Braga has all to play for. They got nothing to lose in this scenario. They need a win in Naples. It's that simple. And Napoli currently are not playing well. A lot of that's because Victor Osimhen's injuries. A lot of that is also because they never found an actual great replacement for Kim Min-jae. And I think there's also a reversion to mean at Napoli with guys like Peter Zielinski and Stanislav Lobotka. I mean, these players played out of their minds on Giza last season, right? To win the Scudetto. They played absolutely so far beyond their means. It's not to say they're not great footballers, but they to sustain that with a managerial change and all that is just tough. So that's why Napoli is struggling. I believe they've lost last 3 of 4 or something. They got beat up by Inter. They lost to Juve over the weekend. So Braga has a chance. So they're going to need Banza. They're going to need Horta. They're going to need every person to be at the top of their game if they want a chance to move through the knockout rounds, but it'll be fun to see him in the Europa.
Well
at the
said.
very least.
Well said with Simon Baza, a man who is the top goal scorer of the Portuguese league. That many say maybe that he's better than Gyökeres. I don't agree with that, but he's an interesting player to follow for sure. And in the goal scorer of Napoli, Osimhen is 4 games without scoring since he's come back from injury. I know tough opponents with Juve, with Inter. With Real Madrid in the Champions League, but still, worrying signs. And Kvaratskhelia, he missed an open goal shot, against Juve. That wasn't a good look by that. But Real Madrid, I just want to talk quick about Real Madrid because what they're doing is fascinating with Jude Bellingham. They didn't beat Betis, but Jude Bellingham's record right now, 18 games, 16 goals, 4 assists. He's definitely a Ballon d'Or contender. And Rodrigo in his last 7 games, look at this. 7 games, 7 goals, 4 assists. No Vini, Rodrigo Goes is there. And Bellingham last 7 games, 6 goals and 1 assist. So these people are the prolific goal scorers. And Real Madrid next season, ENDRICK, Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouaméni. The amount of talent is absolutely unreal. I know I missed a Nico Paz or even a Guler. So just look at how stacked they are. I think Braga won't be losing to Napoli. I think it's going to be a tough game because it's not Spalletti ball anymore. And I think Real Madrid are going to do 6-6 because this is a team that is addicted to winning. And you got to respect just that. In the Champions League, for sure. In the Champions League, for sure.
And Union Berlin, just to give them a quick little shout out in their first Champions League campaign, they have been winning as of late. So they're trying to dig their way out of the Bundesliga bottom, and what a way to continue that momentum. Than like doing something to Real Madrid. But I agree with you. I mean, the same way we do a PSV heat check, we're doing a Jude Bellingham heat check every week. And I think that's going to continue in this match, unless, of course, they rotate, which they very well could. We might see Nico Paz. It'd be great to see Arda Güler in a game like this. I know he's injured still, but we'll see. Group C's not as... It's that Napoli-Braga game. That's what it's all about.
For sure. And in Group D, what it's all about is the first place. Who's going to finish first because it's Inter against Real Sociedad. And the Europa League spot with Salzburg playing against Benfica at home in Salzburg. Right, I got to say in this group, I got to give respect to Inter. My quick shout-out goes to Jan Sommer. Jan Sommer is the first goalkeeper ever to have in his first 15 games in Serie A 10 clean sheets. Why that happens? Acerbi, one of the best defenders in the center backs in the world right now. Bastoni. And if you don't know this youngster, you gotta remember the name of Jan Lagler, okay? The center back of Inter. He has got 4 appearances in Serie A, and his last was a 90-minute in against Benfica and against Udinese. Please remember the name of this center back. And my last thing on Inter is Di Marco is one of the best left backs in the world right now, for sure. The list is Theo Hernandez, Di Marco, Alfonso Davis, and Grimaldo. These are the top-tier left backs right now in Europe, balling out. I don't know who's first. Well, maybe Grimaldo with Xabi Alonso.
I don't know. I mean, Inter is just on a different level right now. It's very, very impressive. And I know you talked about Sommer. Absolutely makes sense, and DiMarco, but Lautaro Martinez just continues. Sometimes I forget he is 26 years old. He's still got so much in front of him. He's only known one European team, obviously, since moving from Racing Club. What was that, 6 seasons ago?
True.
And I don't think people have given him maybe enough credit simply because Haaland's around and others are around. Harry Kane's around. Give him enough credit for what he has done in Serie A, and they're going to need him to do it in these later rounds of the Champions League if they want to get back to where they got to last season and, go the step further. But he is up to, with that 4-0 win over Udinese. He scored another. He's up to 14 goals this season, 8 more than second place. He's got a goal every 90 minutes, and he just became the first person or the, 29 Serie A goals in one calendar year for Lautaro Martinez, which is more than Inter legends like Diego Milito. It's more than Christian Vieri. I mean, this is some pretty ridiculous stat not padding, but, stat announcing for a guy like Lautaro Martinez, who still is only 26 years old. And I just keep bringing him up because, frankly, Alex, I never really expected Lautaro Martinez to be this good for Inter Milan.
No, and
never expected.
Lautaro was good with Lukaku. Lautaro is good now with Thuram. Lautaro was good with Dzeko. The denominator is Lautaro Martinez. He's improving massively throughout the years. And if he gets the extension for Inter, it says a lot with players like Barella, Di Marco, Bastoni, Lautaro, all wanting to stay in a team like Inter Milan. It speaks volumes of how good they are. In a team that it needs consistency to compete against Napoli, Juve, other teams that Juve right now is Juve or Inter in the Serie A title race. I think Inter will be beating Real Sociedad, and to defend my own Benfica, come on. I know Rocco Simic is playing, a big friend of mine, but Benfica, João Neves, Antonio Silva, I think they need a win. They need to win 2-0. In order to get that Europa League spot by 2 goals. So if that happens,
it's doable.
I won't be surprised.
I told you, I'm not convinced by this Salzburg team. They have a bunch of great parts, but I'm not convinced in the sum of those parts. And I think Benfica will absolutely do it. I think they will move on to the Europa League, and they will be very, very dangerous in the Europa League. And I'm going to just give Real Sociedad very quickly their respect, because after that close loss to Barcelona, they're on a 7-game unbeaten streak. They look convincing again. Takefusa Kubo, again, is doing phenomenally well. So I really hope that Inter goes full strength for this. I hope Real Sociedad goes full strength for this as they fight for the tippy top of their group. And I think Real Sociedad has more of a chance, but I do also agree that Inter will ultimately come out on top. But Sociedad is so impressive this season.
Yeah, one of the best midfields in the world, Zubimendi, Merino, and Brais Mendes. Pay attention to that game. Group E now, I think a lot has been discussed in Group E and defined. Celtic's going to be finishing last with 1 point. Feyenoord will definitely finish third with 6 points. But what is in contention? The first place. Atletico Madrid against Lazio. Atletico with 11, Lazio with 10 points. I think Atletico will be winning this game. Pay attention to Antoine Griezmann, one of the best players in the world right now. A top 5 maybe in the world in terms of form. And Morata that keeps on scoring goals. Yeah. He's a joint top goal scorer in the Champions League. And he scored this weekend, okay? So he keeps going. So I go Atletico winning and Feyenoord winning away from home and Celtic Park.
I like it. Although Celtic, come on, you're playing for pride. Get it done. Feyenoord is my biggest disappointment of this Champions League so far. I had higher hopes. Yeah, Europa League, they should be very, very dangerous. I mean, Europa League, I think I might have my eyes more on that one, depending, if Benfica gets in, it's going to be a fun fight to the death in the Europa League. Yeah.
Feyenoord.
I love it.
Sevilla maybe if they go through against Lyon, for sure. But Santiago Jimenez broke Luis Suarez of Eredivisie goals scored in a calendar year. 31 goals scored by Jimenez. That he's a top goal scorer of the top 7 leagues right now. 18 league goals and 3 assists. Sign him up, everyone, because he is one of the best strikers in the world, and that has a big price tag.
I'll say it, but with not just Santiago Jimenez, but also Raul, right? Getting things done for Fulham. I think they have a little striker war on hands for Mexico, right? I think heading into next summer's Copa America, we're gonna see who actually will be there.
Which one?
Why? Yeah, why do I keep exactly? It is going to be very, very interesting to see which one comes out on top, or if they find a way to play both. But yeah, long story short, I agree with you. Atletico Madrid will top the group here, and I also agree with you. Alvaro Morata he looks at home.
True.
He's not Mr. miss that wide open chance, Mr. Fluff that whatever. He looks like a proper striker this season.
He's a Madrid boy.
And I think.
But for Real Madrid,
he has earned that CV this particular season so far, and they'll be interesting. Atletico Madrid will be very, very interesting in this knockout round.
It's many references.
I think they're stronger.
Many references. Koke, Morata, Griezmann, many players that are iconic for Atletico de Madrid. But now, Group F, the group of death. It's not the group. It's the group of Portugal too in the Euros, but the group in the Champions League. Dortmund has gone through already with 10 points in this group, but they could still lose to PSG, okay, which is the game. Dortmund, PSG, and Newcastle, Milan, which they are all fighting still to get that second spot. It's all possible in these games, in the games week, game 6-6. Who would you believe will be going through in the Champions League with Dortmund, Breton, in Group F?
Oh my gosh. No, PSG will here. PSG will, and the only real, it's not Aiden Terzic. It's not Aiden Terzic that will keep PSG from doing it. It is Signal Iduna Park that will keep PSG from moving through, if anybody does, because I think Dortmund have been great in spite of their manager. I think Dortmund have been great in spite of their manager to get results this season. But that loss to Leipzig was completely avoidable. And I really do think he's already hedging his bets, Aiden Terzic. He's already saying, we need this to be able to compete. And there's obviously a grain of truth to that. But at the same time, who the hell cares? If you're in the running, right? If you're in the running for a Bundesliga title and you just watch Eintracht Frankfurt beat Bayern 5-1, don't get it in your heads or your players' heads that it is okay to hedge their bets. That it is okay to slip up on the last day when you could have won the Bundesliga title last season. Stop doing that. So I think they're winning in spite of their manager this season, and I'm not exactly excited about it. And a lot of it is I am bitter that he's not playing Gio Reyna. When you need somebody, just the 8 minutes he was on against Leipzig, he created multiple chances, and he's not playing them. So yes, my American bias is coming through in this particular episode, and that's why I do feel that PSG is going to probably beat them at Signal Iduna, which might actually lead to action on the front of Dortmund, because I don't think they're going to win a Bundesliga title under Edin Terzic, which it pains me to say that.
Versus Xabi Alonso? For sure not.
Yeah.
Not even the second place. But yes, I agree with you. I think Dortmund against PSG, I think PSG mandatory must go through if they have Kylian Mbappe in that team. If they don't go through in the Champions League, it's the biggest sign ever for Kylian Mbappe to say, look, even with Luis Enrique, one of the best managers in the world, this PSG team cannot succeed in the Champions League. And after Real Madrid, that is the best thing he can do in his career. Mandatory win for PSG with Kylian Mbappe being crucial, or Vitinha, because Zaire Emery ain't there. And I believe for the third place, I will go with Newcastle, okay? Newcastle at home is a very tough team to play against, and AC Milan is a team that I'm not used to seeing in the Europa League, but used to seeing in the Champions League. So I just, it's a way of saying it. It would damage it.
I mean, last season we had it, right? With, what was that, Manchester United, Barcelona? I mean, we've had Europa Leagues, they can deliver. That's why I love this kind of tiered system. But if AC Milan goes to it, that's fine. But AC Milan needs a statement win.
It's true.
And where better to do it than St. James Park? They tied it up relatively late against Atalanta, and then Luis Muriel decided to late match winner. But AC Milan is something he does. And Newcastle, is tough with all the injuries right now, and they're only adding to that list. They're not subtracting from it. So I think there is a big chance that AC Milan can get a point or two. But I think I am going to say AC Milan does pull out a draw, which I believe will be not enough. Not enough to do it. So Newcastle does go through in third. Sorry, I had to check the stat.
No worries. But people, let us know your predictions until now. Group G is an easy one because Man City and RB Leipzig already have gone through, and it's going to be Red Star against Man City and Leipzig against Young Boys. I hope Man City rest Erling Haaland, because you gave that synopsis about the stress, and they can't risk a player like that. Look what happened in the Community Shield with Kevin De Bruyne. So Man City winning with Oscar Bob having a big game, and Leipzig winning with Xavi Simons being inspired playing in the Champions League, because that's where he deserves to be, in the biggest stage in football.
And Young Boys in third. They've pipped up as of late. They have more of a chance of beating Leipzig than Red Star has of beating Manchester City. Ooh. So there you go.
Well said, Breton. And Group H, which is an interesting group to talk about because Barca, yes, it's the first time that they have gone through in the Champions League since Lionel Messi left, all because of a great rebuild with Laporta and Xavi in my views, but no guarantees. And the way they're playing that they're a contender to win the Champions League. They're not better than Real Madrid. They're not better than Man City or Bayern Munich that lost 5-1 to Frankfurt. I won't state that. But Vitor Roque can do something. And I want to say on Barca, in my eyes, Barcelona is the best team in the world defensively. Ronaldo Araújo is being massively talked for Bayern Munich, but he's one of the captains of Barcelona and he's going to stay there. Balde, Ronaldo Araújo, Ter Stegen, Conde, Cancel, Christensen, and even a substitute keeper with Iñaki Peña. That would be a great keeper for many teams, but he is starting where no Ter Stegen is there, and a great player he is showing to be. So keep going, Barcelona, that defensively you give securities. I think Barca will be beating Royal Antwerp. Maybe we'll see Arthur Vermeeren convincing Xavi for a transfer, and I think Porto will be beating Shakhtar. It's an essential win for Porto because they're going to go through in second. I think Barca is going through in first. Porto in second, with Evan Nilsson having a masterclass, and Sergio Conceição, one of the best managers I've seen in Portugal in the past 10 years. So keep going, Sergio Conceição in Porto, and Evan Nilsson will score in this game.
I like it. Well, I've only two things to say there. I don't necessarily agree with you that Barcelona are the best defensive team on the planet.
In terms of depth?
But in terms of depth, no. I mean, if you're telling me Ronaldo Araujo is going to stay healthy the rest of the season, no, I can't say that. And I don't think Jules Koundé, he doesn't necessarily pass my eye test as being one of the best defenders in the world. But Balde, I don't think has been that great this season. I mean, I just
but Cancelo has. Cancelo maybe has been the best right back in the Champions League.
I feel like it's been about a month and a half. In the Champions League, yeah, I mean, he's been very good in the Champions League. Specifically against who was it this past time? Was it Porto that they played last?
Balled out.
Yeah.
Felix
balled out,
Cancelo.
for sure.
One of the best games I've seen in Felix's career. Cancelo's career.
But I love you bringing up Iñaki Peña because he has been phenomenal for them. At the same time that PSG, I think, has relied on a former Barcelona goalkeeper in Arnau Tena. So that's really interesting that La Masia, the gift that keeps on giving to most clubs. But yeah, the big game here is Porto Shakhtar for sure. And Shakhtar shocked Barcelona to get here to put themselves in this position. And it's whether or not they can do so again, but they're going to have to do it at the Estadio de Dragão. And I'm not entirely certain that they'll be able to do it. And Porto's got the upper hand that if it's a draw, they're through. And who knows, maybe Pep's feeling another goal. We'll see. But I am going to say Porto does move through, and obviously Shakhtar still goes through in Europa League, and it's whether or not who Barcelona draws in the next round as the group leader. That's going to be massive to find out who they get.
Okay, let us know down below your predictions on every group because some bold things can happen in the second place, in the third place. There's still some doubts. Let us know down below, and don't forget to like this video. Yep. We got something, though. Brasileirão. Abel Ferreira is officially the best manager ever in Palmeiras history. He's won 2 Campeonatos Brasileiros in a row. He's won 2 Copa Libertadores in his time of 3 years and 9 titles in total, with ENDRICK improving, with Gustavo Gomes improving, with Rony becoming a club legend. So many players in the meantime upping their value, and no doubt so many haters have been pointing fingers at Abel Ferreira, but Abel Ferreira is the best manager in South America. Ever since Marcelo Gallardo's left, he's made it simple for me to say a statement like this. And Filipão.
It's simple.
Filipão. Respect Filipão, because in the second half of the Brasileirão, that Atlético Mineiro team is the team that was playing the best football. So, for me, he's the second best manager, Filipão.
Yeah, well, the only comment I have to make about Palmeiras is if you needed absolute proof that ENDRICK is the guy of the future, just seeing what he was able to do in that title run. It reminded me a little bit of what Rafa Leão did. I know much older than ENDRICK, but because this was only a couple seasons ago, it reminded me a little bit of Rafa Leão and how unmarkable he was for AC Milan when they went on their run to win the Scudetto, right? ENDRICK did the exact same thing when it counted the most, right? And we were talking early in the season how, he's so young and they were starting him because they had injuries, but he hit for proper goals, remontada wins. He was all over the field as if he was starting the season, and it was getting to the butt end of the season when every fixture mattered and ENDRICK was there. So if you needed proof, all you have to do is watch that quest that he went on to push Palmeiras beyond that. And yeah, there's a little FC Wonderkid bias there because he is in fact as young as he is. But it was just great to see. And you have to counter that, Alex, with the absolute despair of watching such a storied club like Santos after 111 years. Their first time in a club's existence, they will be playing in the second division of Brazil, the club of Pelé, the club of Neymar, the club of, to a lesser extent, Robinho. Will have to work their way back, and they will have to likely do so without their best player, Marcos Leonardo, after 13 goals, trying to keep them out of this scenario. They're going to have to sell off quite a few of their players because they've got financial difficulties moving forward. But Vasco did it. Other teams have done it in the past. It's just so crazy. Yeah, so crazy to see Santos FC
it speaks volumes of the history that they have and the weight of Pelé. Nobody's going to be wearing the number 10 jersey in Serie B. I love to see a statement like that. And they need solutions and structure. Cruzeiro, Botafogo, Santos can't be a team that always goes ups and downs like the last two I mentioned, okay? It can't happen. And Marcos Leonardo, well referred, and I'll be stating his name in a list, but just want to mention first ENDRICK. If it wasn't for ENDRICK, Palmeiras wouldn't have won the Brasileirão. I'm not saying he's the biggest factor, but 11 goals is 11 goals. And he did just that at 17. Next season at Real Madrid, ENDRICK, Rodrigo, Vini, Jude Bellingham, Mbappe must be thinking like, it's now or never. I gotta go because this ENDRICK kid is the real deal. World-class potential. Everyone can see that. And if you want to see a game that shows how good ENDRICK is, watch the game of Botafogo against Palmeiras. That Botafogo was beating Palmeiras 3-1. And there was a remontada with a brace of ENDRICK that scored one of the best goals I've seen in Brasileirão, definitely this season. He won the best goal of Brasileirão, and he's the revelation of Brasileirão. 2 titles ENDRICK completely deserves, and now, in June, we're going to see him go to Real Madrid. But still, from April to June, he's going to still play some games for Palmeiras, and that will be a nice way to say goodbye. And a good way for Real Madrid to get an informed player. A player that wants to prove himself and a player with rhythm. He's already had his preseason. 2-3 months. Well, expect ENDRICK to be big in La Liga, straight from the bat.
Well, here's hoping ENDRICK doesn't play too hard for them in his remaining games for Palmeiras, because I don't think anyone wants to see him going to Madrid with an injury. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, you said it. 11 goals. The majority of those goals were scored in that run to the title.
Exactly.
Late in the season, and that says something. It shows that he already has that will to win, which I think is more impressive than anything technically he can do with a football. And because that's the intangible that Real Madrid will consistently need the injection of if they want to beat Barcelona to a La Liga title every season and not just, say it's this season or the next season, right? They want to do it every season and build a new franchise or build a new dynasty is what I'm looking for there. So but you were going to give us, because you watched it, you watched every game. I don't feel fully qualified to give you a best 11 because I was not able to watch as many fixtures as you, but I would love to know, what is your best 11 for the Brasileirão season?
Unfortunately, there's no ENDRICK in this best 11, and going with what you said, I believe Haaland, Mbappe are world-class elite Ballon d'Or potential. Vini Jr. and Rodrigo under them, but Endrick has the potential to be in that same category as Haaland and Mbappe. I believe fully that is the reasoning why he goes to Real Madrid. And I want to say, before I say the 11, Luis Suarez deserves a special mention. Luis Suarez was nominated the best player of Brasileirão. Why? Because Grêmio just went up. And now they're ended in second place in Brasileirão because they have Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, 17 goals, 11 assists. And Luis Suarez, no doubt in my mind, is the best striker since 2010. In front of Benzema, in front of Lewandowski, in front of all these names, he's even a top assister. He was in La Liga, he was in Eredivisie, even high numbers in the Liverpool team in assists. And now in Grêmio, he was the top assister of Brasileirão. So big respect on just that. But not the best player. Top 3 players of Brasileirão: Rafael Veiga, Suarez, Hulk, or Paulinho. Top 4, definitely. These are the 4 names. All going bold. But best 11. And you said it. Best 11 of Brasileirão. I put in goal Everton. Then at left back, Piquerez. Center backs, Murilo, Adrielson. And at right back, Mike, a legend of Palmeiras. He's won so many titles. Then my 3 in midfield, Lucas Evangelista, Rafael Veiga, the best midfielder of Brasileirão, and Arrascaeta, that's a consistent player for Flamengo. And then my 3 up front is Paulinho, the top goal scorer of Brasileirão, it's Luis Suarez, and it's Hulk, that were unreal in the Brasileirão. Hulk with 15 goals and 11 assists, next to the top goal scorer, Paulinho.
Yeah, Hulk and Paulinho, they met up. Hulk assisted, I think it was, Paulinho 8 times this season. The next best tandem to do something like that was 3. 3. So they met 5 more times. Hulk and Paulinho are one of the best duos, attacking duos in football right now, which is really, really impressive to say, considering Hulk is right up there in age with a Luis Suarez. So it's pretty awesome to see. The only person I'd like to throw in there for goalkeeper is only reason Botafogo actually had a chance in the end, even as they were dropping so hard, right? And so in their heads was because of Lucas Perry. He was the best in the league in terms of goals prevented, 13.2. He was best at save percentage. So even in that horrendous late season, John Textor expletive-laden fall from grace, he managed 15 clean sheets, which was second in the Brasileirão by just 1. So that's not necessarily a testament because they weren't exactly insanely dominant in the beginning half of that season, but it is a testament to how he is possibly the only one that was as consistent as possible for Botafogo through the whole season. We all thought it was going to be Botafogo running away with this.
It's true.
And it was not.
They were leading the league 15 points and 30 fixtures. Botafogo was in first in the Brasileirão. It's so sad.
That's
and
crazy.
Rafael Veiga is the best player in Brasileirão in my eyes. Not just the best midfielder, because he was the top goal scorer and the top assister of Palmeiras in the season that they won, the Brasileirão, with 18 goals and 18 assists. But let us know down below, what have we forgot about the Brasileirão? Please don't forget to like this video and just go bold about Brasileirão and about other topics that you want to see here at FC Wonderkid. But we got to talk about this in the FC Wonderkid podcast, and we did say it in the start that we were going to talk about national teams. Reaction to Euros 2024 groups and Copa America early thoughts too. We're not going to be saying who we think will win. Maybe Bretson will go bold. But please go bold yourselves down below saying your predictions and if you agree or disagree with what we're saying. Just to start, Portugal were in Group F in Euros 2016. They're in Group F again in Euros 2024. Portugal is a contender to win the Euros, and we're in the same group as we were in 2016. Bora lá, Ronaldo. We've got a team to win it. Palhinha is a much better player. Bruno Fernandes for Portugal, he's elite. Bernardo Silva, Diogo Costa, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Bora lá, Portugal.
And you also, it is Group F is Portugal, Turkey, Czech Republic, and either Greece, Kazakhstan, Georgia, or Luxembourg. I think it'll probably be Greece. But there's no real trickiness here for you. Again, a little bit like your qualifying group. You have wonderful records in competitive matches versus Turkey, in competitive matches versus Czech Republic. So it's just a matter as if everything kind of goes off without a hitch, which I think it will. I think Group F, Portugal will move through, but we don't need to do that. But yeah, I mean, what luck for you. Being that second, whatever, ball in pot one, I don't know. I don't know how this works, but listen, that's a wonderful draw. I don't think it could have gone much better. Maybe Slovakia over Turkey for you, because Turkey can be tricky. But
they beat us.
That's just a
they beat us in the World Cup.
You avoided Hungary, which I know offline you said you were worried about being in a pot or being in a group with Hungary, right?
It's
and
true.
They're in Group A.
And Group A is an underrated group of death. I think everyone can say Group B with Spain, Croatia, Italy is the real group of death, because picking two teams to go through is very difficult. But Group A is hard too when you see John McGinn playing for Aston Villa and you see Dominic Szoboszlai playing for Liverpool. Both key players for Scotland and Hungary. And Scott McTominay, the goal scorer of Scotland too, okay? And Switzerland. That is always a good team. In international games. So Group A, Germany must pull through a good campaign, which I believe they will.
And well, I think it's, because they're hosting, they will. You're right. But you mentioned Switzerland, and Switzerland is the one that knocked out France in the last Euros, right? And Jan Sommer stood on his head. And that's why I can't definitively say who is, like, Hungary and Scotland were phenomenal in qualifying. Scotland, obviously, in particular, but does it always translate to Euro, right? It doesn't, right? Slates get cleaned. And that's why, it's really, really tough to discount a Switzerland moving forward, because Shaqiri always decides to do something interesting when it comes to the Euros. Other teams kind of wilt under pressure. So, yeah, Germany, Hungary, Scotland, Switzerland, that's interesting. But you are right. Group B is Spain, Croatia, Italy, and poor Albania. But at the same time, go for it, Albania. Take one of these. I'm going to call it right now. Albania will take down one of these teams. Spain, Croatia, or Italy. You be the judge in the comment section. Albania will take one.
Adam Ambrosia goal scorer.
I like it. Let's do it.
But I think, I'll give a prediction too for Group B, Bretson. In Group B, with Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania, I think Croatia will be going through. It's not bold, because in the last two World Cups, we saw a team that ended second and third consecutively. You must respect what Luka Modric is doing, and it's his last dance. Luka Modric's last dance in the Euros. And this is a player that is the perfect 6, 8, and 10. Just like Ancelotti said, which I completely agree with that statement. And a young Gvardiol. And a young maybe Roko Simic being called. Please be called. But yes, we mentioned with Germany. Just wanted to say, because I don't want to forget this on Germany. For me, Florian Wirtz is the favorite to be the youngster of Euro 2024. Last Euro, it was Pedri. It was his real ascension to the stardom level. And Wirtz will be a known name in the next summer transfer market. He will be leaving by Leverkusen for more than 100 million. Bayern Munich, I don't know who will be getting him, but top teams will be trying to compete to get a player like him. Maybe a City. Replacement long-term for Kevin De Bruyne? Never know. But it can happen.
Sure.
So,
I'm going to just throw out one other name, because I think Xavi Simons will be huge for the Netherlands next summer. Yeah.
That horse doesn't convince me. Maybe, okay, he's good for the national team. But Jarel Hatu, Brian Brobbey, Xavi Simons, Joey Veerman, these are all the players that can make a real impact, and they're seeing a real ascension this season.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see Arda Güler hitting a golazo against Portugal in Group F.
And Orkun Koksu
maybe he'll be healthy enough. Orkun Koksu for sure. But also, I mean, Belgium, I want to see new blood. I want to see Jeremy Doku, and I want to see Johan Bakayoko there. But yeah, getting through this here, right? Group C, England, as you mentioned offline here, they are the bookies' favorite. And they've got Denmark, they've got Serbia, and they've got Slovenia. I don't see too much tricky. It depends on which Serbia shows up. Who's showing up?
And which Denmark shows up too. That past demons. True. Denmark was a tough team in the Euros. Okay, in the last Euros. But I completely agree with you, Bretson. England, well, which is fact. You said it with the bookies. They're the favorites. And England is the best team on paper in terms of talent. Bellingham is performing. Maddison was even performing before the injury. Harry Kane is performing big time. Maguire is performing for England. Then you have France, and then you have Portugal. These are the three favorites to win Euro 2024 right now, and underrated shouts with Tedesco of Belgium and Nagelsmann of Germany, and a Netherlands team that is always a surprising team with intelligent players like Virgil van Dijk, Frankie de Jong, and a Xavi Simons that can be considered a world-class player at the end of the tournament. But so much to talk about with the Euros. And the best international player still is in Europe, which is Kylian Mbappe playing for France. No doubt in my mind. Yep. When the Euros kick in, France, that's the worst team Portugal can go against. But nós ganhamos.
But we win. So that's Group D, France, Netherlands, Austria, and probably Wales or Poland is what we're looking at there. Group E, you've got Belgium, Slovakia, Georgia, Romania. Israel. What am I looking for? Yeah, Romania, Israel, Iceland, Bosnia, or Ukraine. Probably Ukraine in there. Belgium, Slovakia, Romania. That's interesting, but Belgium should be okay. And then we already talked about Group F. So, hey, next summer can't come fast enough, but we are going to be, our heads are going to be on a swivel because at the same time, you've got Euro 2024 in Germany on the other side of the pond. In the Western Hemisphere, we've got the Copa America, which should be just as fun. Much smaller tournament.
Copa America's final. The Copa America final is going to be in Miami. Now, we all know who's going to be in the final, Bretson. Argentina. Scaloni said the beginning of the era started by winning the Copa America, which Lionel Messi and Di Maria went extremely bold that they consistently do for Argentina. But yes, if we see the teams in Copa America, I'd say Argentina the favorites and Uruguay are the second. Uruguay with Bielsa are a new team, a youthful team with Ugarte, with Ronald Araújo, with Darwin, with even a midfielder like Arrascaeta for Flamengo that is phenomenal, and Capitano Federico Valverde, one of the best midfielders in the world. Uruguay could win Copa America, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is the best shot they've had in a very long time. I know you've got some CONCACAF names in there that kind of throw maybe a little bit of a wrench in the system, but Uruguay will have to go against the USA. But Bielsa and Uruguay, Bielsa and USA, man, wouldn't that have had a nice ring to it?
Exactly. Why didn't you get him?
And I'm just looking at this, like Berhalter's biggest standard for the USA in Group C here. USA, Uruguay, Panama, Bolivia. He's got to figure out a way to beat Uruguay. He's got to figure out a way to get some big win under his belt that is not Mexico, that is not CONCACAF related, right? He was not able to do it with the Netherlands. He was not able to do it with England in the World Cup. He's got to figure out a way, and who better to bring down a peg than Uruguay? Because I agree, roster-wise, this is the best roster. This is the best momentum Uruguay has had, probably coming into a Copa America in a very long time. They last won in 2011. And they have a very incredibly realistic chance, too. And another shout out to Facundo Pellistri, who gets no love for Manchester United, but somehow finds his way into a Uruguayan lineup every time out, or most of the times out, under a very tough manager in Marcelo Bielsa. So I'm going to be watching. This is the big standard bearer for us. We have to find a way to beat Uruguay or tie Uruguay. We'll get through here, but that is huge. Uruguay will have to beat Brazil to meet Argentina in the final. And what you're telling me is, do you think Uruguay can beat Brazil to get to a final against Argentina in Miami?
I think for sure they can beat Brazil. They've done it in the past few weeks, and they beat Argentina too in the meantime with Bielsa, in which they didn't even suffer a goal between Brazil and between Argentina. That Scaloni manages Argentina well. Not something I can say from Fernandinho. So I'm worried for Brazil right now. Last 4 games of Brazil with Fernandinho, 3 losses and 1 draw. They lost to Colombia, they lost to Argentina, and they lost to Uruguay, and they lost their identity too. They can't have a manager like Fernandinho part-time. They can't rely only on Ancelotti. They must bring in a top-tier manager. Maybe convince Jose Mourinho, convince someone like Uruguay did with Bielsa, which seems to be a really good fit. But you think, I just wanted to say, with Group C, Uruguay goes through in first. US must go through in second, Breton. Because if you don't go through, Greg Berhalter has to be sacked.
Well, there's a weird subset of American soccer, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, that kind of want them to fail, right? Or do just enough to not fail. And the interesting thing is whether or not the Federation would have the wherewithal to do this. I mean, we are hosting these games.
Germany sacked Hansi Flick and they got Nagelsmann, and they're getting the Euros. If US lose and they don't go through in Copa America group with a team like Panama and Bolivia, they must sack Greg Berhalter.
I agree. It just comes down to I don't think the Federation can do it. I mean, they're telling us, gaslighting us almost, telling us that Greg Berhalter was the best candidate a second time around, after he was relatively toothless and not exactly awe-inspiring in the qualifying to get to the World Cup. And then in the World Cup, he was naive against the Netherlands. We got outclassed. We got outbeaten. We got out-hustled. We got out everything against the Netherlands. And I don't know, in that 6 months that existed in between, when we had a couple, people, just Anthony Hudson and a couple other people running the show, I don't know what conversations they were having underneath the hood, but there is no way you can tell me that Greg Berhalter, for a second time, should be leading us into this cycle. And I want to see him succeed. I'd rather be proven wrong because it's a whole lot easier, a whole lot smoother. But my goodness, you've got Marcelo Bielsa taking over such a wonderful group of talent in such a small country. Uruguay is not big. Right? And
but it's talented.
They're figuring out a way to do it, and but it is insanely talented pound for pound. That is sure. And we can't we can't figure this out. So you're right, absolutely. And I'd argue that hosting, we should be able to somehow find a way to get some sort of a result against Uruguay. I'm not saying a win, but to get a result. And then you've got Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, or Honduras or Costa Rica in there. And hey, have at it. There's only a semifinals here. Let's go. Let's give our people a show in town. So this is a big one. You're right. Copa America should see either Greg Berhalter prove his haters wrong, or Greg Berhalter sent packing, and we at least have a little bit of enough time to save face, get somebody else in, somebody more ambitious in, heading into the 2026 World Cup.
In Group C, U.S. men's national team must pass, and in Group D, Brazil should pass in first place. I know Colombia played good football. I know they have Luis Diaz, but Brazil has Endrick, Vinicius, Rodrigo. They got so many players. Like, it's ridiculous if they don't go through in first place. And shout out to Santiago Jimenez with a Mexican team that has two strikers named Jimenez that can pull it through. And Jamaica with Leon Bailey, surprising the world. But I believe the final is going to be Argentina-Uruguay. Early prediction, very early. But let us know down below your thoughts about Euro 2024 and your thoughts, too, about Copa America. What you believe will happen.
And just in that vein, because I like that early shout, those are very much the two most informed teams at this moment. I think Colombia, believe it or not, is a little bit of a shout to be a dark horse, because I think Brazil will still be vulnerable 6 months from now. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I think they will still be very vulnerable 6 months from now. But no, I have to say, in terms of the last thing I've got to say is, in terms of candidates coming out right now, no, I'm not going to say that this person isn't actually candidate to take over for Greg Berhalter, the U.S., if they fail at Copa America. That's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. But anyone that has been watching the outcome of the MLS season this season, post Leo Messi and Inter Miami going out, gear up for one of the best off seasons we've seen. Because frankly, if they do not gear up for a wonderful offseason, an amazing offseason that sees a bunch of new young players, probably South American players, an expansion of roster rules, and old players like Luis Suarez and some others that they potentially bring in. if they do not do it, it is a massive opportunity missed with Copa America coming, with the new expanded Club World Cup coming the next year, and then, of course, the World Cup coming in 2026. But the name I'm going to mention here, the Columbus Crew, congratulations to them for winning MLS Cup. They were not the best team in MLS all season. That still goes, in my opinion, to FC Cincinnati. But when all is said and done, they beat LAFC. They got incredibly hot and played very consistent football, thanks to Cucho Hernandez, thanks to Diego Rossi, thanks to Darlington Nagbe, now a 4-time MLS Cup winner. But to be honest, one of the biggest reasons Columbus Crew got to win their second MLS Cup championship in 4 years running is because of their new boss, Wilfried Nancy. Coming from Montreal, he's a Ligue 1 vet as well, having played over there. He is somebody that in the future I could see taking over the U.S. men's national team. I know there's a little bit of recency bias, but his way of playing football this season and Pat Noonan's way of having FC Cincinnati play this season were my two favorite next to Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union. So I think you got to watch these young coaches here. Jim Curtin, Wilfried Nancy, and Pat Noonan are coaches that could be prospective U.S. men's national team coaches in the very near future. But if you didn't watch the game...
Not Thierry Henry, Breton.
Well, I can't wait to see Thierry Henry coaching again, right? Being the boss of a top tier team. No, it hasn't worked out for him so far.
The French women's team, I think, or at least he was. Yeah. I don't know, but let's see. Let's wait and see what's gonna happen.
We'll see. But anyway, MLS. Watch it. If you aren't watching it, it's not just Leo Messi, but Leo Messi is very much the catalyst heading into this. I am excited for this offseason, and it begins today. But again, congratulations to Columbus, and what a crazy season it was.
Columbus, Palmeiras, so many title-winning teams that are not finishing in May and June. We got to respect other leagues, and I completely agree with what you're stating. Let us know down below, what have we missed in episode 135? And obviously, just put a like. It helps us massively know that you're enjoying listening until the end. Or just say, #I listened until the end, okay? So we know that you're here. So thank you for going bold another week with us, and thank you for listening to the FC Wonderkid podcast. Thank you, people.